Hello everyone, and welcome to a new tutorial. Today's design was actually inspired by a recent trip I took to the store, and I saw these Bohemian inspired prints to hang on the wall, or they were also on pillows. And I ended up getting a pillow for my cats. This is Huckleberry and Gorgo and Greta and Simba and Loki, and they love their pillow. And so I thought I would use this bohemian design on a stone. I have a 4-inch beach stone, and I'm using the stencil from the Happy Dotting Company and using a General's charcoal white pencil, and I'm going to mark the first ring and then skip a row and mark the third ring. Now I'm using a flat-edged brush to paint the center circle purple. Any acrylic purple will do here. I ended up using 3 coats to get it nice and bright, and then I used the golden fluid iridescent gold to paint the next circle around that, using that flat edge of the brush to get right up next to it. Once that was dry, I used the Martha Stewart Beetle black to paint the rest of the stone black. And instead of painting the entire stone black first, I found that this way made my gold and my purple more vibrant. Once that was dry, I flipped it over and painted the back side. And I let that dry and then sprayed the back side with a clear acrylic, and then I was ready to start dotting. I used the stencil again to find the center. And if you've done this before, it's kind of hard to get that center dot on there with a larger tool. So it helps if you start with a smaller tool and then go over it with the larger tool. That will help you line up your center dot better. And mine was a little bit too rounded, so I flattened it down because I know I'm going to be doing 2 top dots on the center dot later. And a lot of our designs, we've used a large center dot and then made a cross, and then filled in with 3 dots on each of the quarters. But on this one, we're going to use the large center dot and make a cross, and then we're going to fill in with 4 dots. So this may take a little practice. If you haven't done 4 dots before, it's a little hard to space them. You'll find that you run out of space on the last 2 dots. So I suggest just practicing on paper before you do it on the stone. I'm going to mix up some really vibrant, bright paints here, the Martha Stewart Habernero and the Golden Fluid Pyrole Red, and mix in a little bit of the Liquitex pouring medium to get the right consistency. Got my readers because I'm going to be working with my smallest tool, doing the 4 dots to make the cross with my Polymer Clay sculpting tool, and I'm going to fit those 4 little dots in between each of the quarters. Now if the spacing isn't exactly what you want, go ahead and wipe it off with a damp paper towel and just try it again. That's why it's important to let your undercoat dry completely before you start this first row. Now you're just going to offset the next 3 rows. And then I took that beautiful bright red and added a little bit of the golden fluid Hansa yellow to make a very vibrant orange. Orange is kind of hard to find. I found that mixing these 2 gave me an orange that was vibrant and also stayed bright. It didn't fade after it was dried. So now I've got the rows there. I've got 4 rows, and I'm going to mix up the FolkArt Colorshift purple with the golden fluid magenta to get me a nice vibrant purple, and I'm going to be making 3 shades of this just by adding some white. Now I'm offsetting this row, but I'm skipping a dot. So we're going to start to make spokes. That's my darkest purple. And then I moved to the medium shade, a little bit smaller tool, and I'm starting to make spokes out from this center part of the mandala. And if you look across your stone, you'll be able to line up your rows without having to make guidelines. It takes a little practice, but that's how I do it now. I find that this works better for me than actually using guidelines. If I just look across and line up my rows that way. So you end up with 7 dots on this purple row, going from darkest to lightest and biggest to smallest. So I mixed up my Martha Stewart rock candy with the FolkArt Colorshift Turquoise, and then I needed a darker, more vibrant shade, so I added some of the blue-green golden fluid and got a 3rd shade. I'm starting with the lightest, sort of the turquoise green, and I'm going to be working out a blue row going from smallest to largest and lightest to darkest, kind of the opposite of the purple row. Again, looking across the stone so I can line these up properly. And that beautiful, vibrant blue is so pretty against this black stone. So I needed to work on the edges. I got this turntable at Bed Bath & Beyond. It's a spice rack actually, and I put a little Tupperware thing on top, and that's how I get to the edge of my beach stones. I can just turn it, and it helps me to not touch the stone while I'm working on it. Now I'm starting to walk the dots around that large blue dot at the end of the row. I started out with a single dot in the light green, and then the blue dots, and now I'm walking those up around the edge. And we're going to be hugging this entire blue row with the blue dots. You can see how that's starting around there. We got around the large dot, and then we're going to work our way up to the second one using 2 blue dots on either side in that space, and then walking those down. The first dot we walked up, the second row we're walking down. So I'm just switching to smaller tools as I'm working my way up the blue-green row, making sure that I don't have a hard edge with that gold circle next to the black. I want to make sure there's a dot on that so it's not a hard edge. Now I'm offsetting white dots in between the blue dots that we walked around that large blue dot at the end of the row. I also added a purple top dot on the center dot after I did this. There's that purple dot. Now I'm adding the light blue top dots to the end of that row, and I'm going to add the bright red large dot at the end of the purple row, and then an orange top dot on that. Really makes that a vibrant color at the end of your row. I also decided to add an orange top dot on the center, and then I walked some gold dots on the blue row, just to give it a little bit more of a sparkle. You know, it's said that a person who is bohemian is someone who has informal and unconventional habits, especially an artist or a writer. But I think it really applies to cats too. That's why I added the cats in this video. I think cats are very bohemian. Anyway, here's the finished stone. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you give it a try.